What up, everyone? Peti Kish Hun here, and today I'm going to be talking about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth slash the trilogy of this remake series that recently came to be. So the director went on an interview for what he thinks for the Final Fantasy VII franchise, and he had this to say. There's an article here on Bonding Into Comics, and it says, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth director says he wanted to avoid fan service, but not the kind you think.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Okay, I have a lot of questions about this. What does he mean by fan service? Because fan service usually is more of like sex appeal, I would say, or things fans want in media. I don't know what he thinks about that, so there's a lot of questions that need to be answered here. So let's check it out. All right, so we're gonna read this article, guys, but before we do that, I'd love it if you guys can like, share, sub, follow on this channel. Let's push this algorithm forward for more of this kind of content. Okay, so Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the remake, the second one of the trilogy, came out this year. And there was a lot of people that praised it, enjoyed it, one of the best Final Fantasies. And then there's some people that actually disagree, and it's going in a whole different direction that really doesn't make no sense, and it's just a cop-out. So it split the community in two. And the director finally came up, and he's talking about this, why this is happening, and what was his intent all along for making this trilogy. So let's see what he actually thinks about this whole thing. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth director Naoki Hamaguchi has revealed that in developing Cloud and Crew's next adventure, he intentionally wanted to avoid filling the game with fan service. And thankfully, he's not talking about the sex appeal kind. All right, so in this article, there's a spoiler warning here. They're going to be talking about a lot of little details, especially the ending of Rebirth, which if you don't know what happens, you can click away of this video if you like. But this is pretty much a remake of a 20-year-old game. If you haven't seen or know anything about it, it's the internet. Where have you been? But in general, if you don't want to watch it, you don't have to watch it. So let's continue. Reflecting on the game's development during a recent interview with Eurogamer's Ed Nightingale, Hamaguchi admitted that one of the biggest challenges he faced was avoiding the temptation of portraying one particular event in the exact fashion way as the original. There was a danger there. There was definitely a trap, said the director. With the original game, I was just a fan. I played the game when I was younger, and I've got my perspective on that scene as just a single fan. Hamaguchi then admitted, I felt if I made a decision, it has to go in this direction. We have to do it this way. That would very much make it a fan-driven thing. It would make the game feel more like fan service, he added. I kind of want to avoid doing that. But he did! He did do fan service! So this literally doesn't make no sense whatsoever, he just said. So he said he wants to get away from fan service, but he did do fan service at the end. Aerith's alive! She didn't die. Or she is dead, but she's still there in spirit with Cloud. So he split the community apart and confused everyone. With that one scene, it was so all over the place. Less was more in this situation, but he just put it out there. There was more cooks in the kitchen and confusion. And it's like, what is going on? What is this scene? And then after that, when you defeat Sephiroth, it's like, what the heck just happened? And what he did was, it started this speculation thing. It was all for dumb shock value. That was all it is. He wanted to change expectations to make it a bit different. So he's like, oh, we're gonna go in a different direction with this. Since this is a false thing, it's not a remake, it's a reimagining. I've been saying this for a while. This is a reimagining. This is a completely different thing going on. But the thing is, how much stupid things they changed, the outcome at the very end in the last game, I feel like it's gonna be the same. If it's not the same, then yeah, this is a completely different game. As such, Hamaguchi decided that rather than focus on the scene's surface level aesthetics, he instead decided to approach it by considering the creative intention of the original Final Fantasy production team. Mr. Yoshinari Katase, the director and writer of the original Final Fantasy VII, often says that he really wanted to create the kind of debate and speculation after the game and moving through the third remake game that people keep talking about it up until they do see the final conclusion. Hamaguchi revealed in that scene, I think we probably have achieved exactly what he wanted to do there. And I'm very satisfied with that because people are still talking about it. Not as much. Maybe in that month launch when the game came out, people talked about it and just were confused and were speculating, obviously making videos about it. Now people are not really talking about it, and it didn't impact enough people, and it probably turned away a lot of other people for this game. That ending was kind of unsatisfying. Again, it leaves on a cliffhanger ending, just like the first remake did, where you have to get the next one. When this game, I think, should have been just one game. Another reason why, too, this literally splits the community even more is these games are going to come out in 3 generations, 3 different consoles. You had the first one on PS4. You have the second one right now on PS5. And probably the last one is probably going to be on PS6. When you could have just made this on one game, the life cycle probably for this game would have taken a long time to do, but just make it on one game and that was it. But no, Square Enix wants to squeeze the life source, their big IP that they've been using for years. Square is just making dumb decisions time and time again because the creativity, the choices they make, it's suffering because of that. Their stock is plummeting. They're losing a lot of their fans. You could see that with Final Fantasy 16 and now this one. It's not profitable. And I feel like fan service right now, it's probably the best thing you can do right now to bring back the original fans in some way. But now I think it's a little bit too late because they're moving to the third game. This trilogy now is not doing as well as when it started because in the beginning, everyone's excited to see it, what was new, but then everyone found out, well, this is going to a different direction. Everyone jumped the boat with the first one. So this is why the second one suffered more in sales. To this end, Hamaguchi noted that while many fans found Rebirth ending to be controversial, this reception was actually kind of the way we wanted to go, as the production team wanted to ensure that players would remain interested in the remake timeline narrative through to the third game. This is where you wanted to go, and now it's showing with the sales for this game. The original fans got lied to. It's not the same. You know, this is kind of like a fanfic, like what if scenario fanfic thing. It's not what the original was, where the fans actually want that instead of just a fanfic story. The important thing is that the player will wonder whether it's going to change or not, he said. So if it was all exactly as it was in the original storyline, you know exactly what was coming. There would be no anticipation, there would be no excitement. For people who played the game, they know exactly what's coming next. It wouldn't really be a fun experience. It might be nostalgic, but it wouldn't be fun experience. I call BS on that. People would love this game even more if you did 1-to-1 remake. People would have loved this. That's a bunch of BS. You're lying. That's straight up just a lie.
Don't bullshit me.
Bullshit.
Bullshit. Bullshit. Bullshit.
Bullshit.
Everyone wanted Final Fantasy VII to be in a new gen, new graphic, the story to be told again, the gameplay, you can do action or you could be turn-based action. You can do all different things, better controls. People wanted that, but instead they got something else. And you're saying that if there was 1-to-1, people would have said no to this? I think people would have eaten this up. People would have supported this way more than now. I do like things in the remake. I'm not going to say I hate it, but I do like some things in it. It's just, I hated where it went. Especially in 1, I was confused, like what was going on? Ghost things, time things, multiverse things. I was like, what the hell is going on here? This is some fanfic bullshit fest. Further speaking to the game's implementation of said changes, Hamaguchi asserted that the real purpose of these elements is to indicate to the player this is where the story might change. It doesn't mean it will change. This is where it could change. The director teased. You might see something new, you might see something different, and that really does help people to keep engaged with the story and keep having that wonder and that anticipation about what's coming next. I don't care. I'd rather just have a full game and talk about the full game instead of splitting it in 3 and telling me an altered story, a what if scenario. I don't give a crap about that. Just give me the original. Seriously, the original is wonderful. It's a great game. You can still play it today and you have no problems with it. For example, Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta. So that's the remake of Snake Eater. It's 1-to-1 and it has 2 different control types. You can have the original control type and the modern control type. Everything's the same. Voice acting is the same from the original on the PS2. Everything's the same. And everyone's eating up. Everyone likes what's going on with that game. Everyone's liking it so far. It looks pretty good so far I've seen. Every scene's 1-to-1. That's how you make a remake. Turning his attentions back to fans' decision regarding Rebirth's ending, Hamaguchi affirmed, I think that kind of divide opinion is something we were always going to get just because Final Fantasy VII, the original game, was such a popular game. It's such a well-known game that if we'd have completely left it as it was, not change anything, people wouldn't like that. And if we changed it completely, there'll be another set of people who wouldn't like that at all, he continued. So we really have to try and find a balance, I think. So try and satisfy as many people as possible. Drawing his thoughts on the subject to a close, Hamaguchi explained, I really do want to continue with that level of fans looking at us and asking, so how is it going to change? What's the ultimate conclusion of the story going to be? Is it going to be the same? Is it going to change? And to keep that level of excitement and anticipation up for the 3rd game in the series. I think that's the job that we've set for ourselves. What we found out is the whole story was made because they don't want to retell a story no more, and the whole thing was built on shock value and speculation. And I'm guessing it all leads to the same end as in the original. So you have all this filler, all this stupid multiverse BS for nothing. It's not needed at all. Let's see some comments here real quick. The best fan service these hacks could have given fans is a largely faithful adaptation of the original story. Yup. And we get neither, thanks to the hacks making the game and Square Enix department. I'll say it again for the people in the cheap beats at the company. If they had been honest about what the game was about from the beginning versus letting everyone think it was an actual remake until right before release, it probably would have sold better. Exactly. Basically, subvert expectation. This is how they go broke purposely, not giving fans what they want, and then dragging it out for 3 games, and they wonder why they're losing money. Actually, fans just want a straight up remake. They wanted the original story, just with action combat. And having the turn-based option would have pleased everyone as a standalone game, not a trilogy. He's saying it's not made for the fans when it is for the fans. It's made for the wrong fans, where they have the shippers, where Cloud and Aerith are shipped together, all that, kind of deal. What are you doing? Why are you shipping different characters?
Stop it. Get some help.
And then they say, well, Aerith should be alive. Everyone loves Aerith. So like the creator's like, okay, so we're gonna make it so obscure so you don't know if she's alive or dead. So yeah, what do you guys think about this whole thing? Let me know in the comments below. I thank you so much for watching this long. And if you didn't like this video, I still thank you so much for watching this long. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one all. Hey ya.